Electricast.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with Kellina Powell. Kellina is a dynamic deaf coach and advocate, international speaker, best-selling author, and passionate entrepreneur dedicated to helping young adults with disabilities achieve their dreams. Her mission extends beyond personal coaching. She is committed to educating the wider community about the deaf experience and fostering a more inclusive society. Kellina's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. She lost 100% of her hearing at the age of 4, a challenge that would have deterred many. Yet, being hard of hearing has not stopped her from pursuing her aspirations. She's earned a bachelor's degree in psychology and a postgraduate certificate in mental health and addiction, equipping herself with the knowledge and skills to support others on their journeys. Her determination and resilience shine through in her achievements, and she became a life coach guiding young adults with disabilities to overcome obstacles and reach their goals. Kellina, I am so thrilled to have you join me on the show today, so welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I am so excited. I've been actually wanting to have you on for a while now. So thank you so very much. Yeah. I just want to get right into the questions because I know it's going to be a fabulous conversation. So with that being said, your story, like I said, it is incredible. From losing your hearing at such a young age to becoming now a best-selling author, you're a coach, you're an advocate. Can you take us back to the beginning? Like, what were the pivotal moments that shaped you into becoming the woman that you are and led you to do this work?
Yeah, so I would say let's go back to when I was 16 years old. I was actually working at a big park at Canada Wonderland, and I actually had my hair in a ponytail. For those who know, Canada can be super hot in the summertime, like really hot. And I had my hair in a ponytail. A little boy actually approached me, and he was also deaf too. And he had hearing aids in his both ears. And he's like, Miss, look, I'm also deaf too. I have hearing aids in both ears. And I'm like, oh my God, no way. And then he was so like thrilled and like delighted. And I showed him my hearing aid. It was so sweet. And his mom came to me and she said, think you did something super simple? You will make a change in the world by doing that. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And I didn't even really thought about it until later the day. And I said, maybe I can make a change in the child's life for the next generation, not just for me. And number two, the second story, I actually met a professor who was also deaf. It was fascinating. I had a great conversation with him about, how did he build his confidence? How did he start his career? And he told me the reason why I'm starting my career is because I want to make an impact and letting other people know that, you can be successful whether you're deaf or not. And he said also too, just like you, right? Someone who's also deaf, being that role model as well in the university space. And that's when I asked him, what would you do if you were to go back in time? And he's like, well, I would love to make a change instead of just being a professor. And so he gave me suggestions, why don't you write a book, why don't you become a coach, why don't you become an author, like in all these suggestions. And I didn't even really thought about it. And I said, maybe this could be a new answer to what I should do after university when I graduate. And then from there, I kicked it off really well. I started networking. I started asking other people if I can be a mentor and just really getting myself out there really slowly and just really connecting with other people. And that's really shaped me who I am today just by that two stories.
Yeah, but I love the fact that you're just brave enough to just step out into the uncomfortable space of asking people, can I mentor you? Of taking the leap of faith to, write a book, to become an author, to actually start mentoring other young people, to want to make a difference in the generation that you are part of, but also the younger generation. And I also want to go a step further. And I believe that you can also inspire those who are ahead of you because a lot of the time, I think nowadays it's more people are more open about it. But, even growing up in my generation, people looked upon different things as being something to be ashamed of. Whereas this is like a superpower for you, especially, you had that interaction with that young boy and he was so excited and you were like, wow, maybe I can make a difference. And then having a professor who, again, wasn't deterring you from actually going after dreams, but actually saying, hey, there is more to life. You can go after your dreams. You don't have to be limited based on maybe some challenges you might find along the way. But it doesn't mean that someone who is of hearing doesn't have the same challenges, just maybe not to the extent that you do, but there's still challenges in life. So I love the fact that you did that. So thank you so much. Which leads me really into my next question because you have overcome significant challenges. Yet you continue to push forward and you are thriving. I've been watching you now for, I guess it's been a couple of years. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it has been. So, what mindset shifts or daily practices have helped you stay resilient, especially in moments of doubt or adversity?
Yeah, honestly, having a very strong why. I feel like if you do not have the strong why, you're not able to become successful. And for me personally, I wanted to leave a legacy for two very important people in my life who passed away. So my godfather passed away and my grandma. So I knew they're both looking down at me and cheering me on. So I know that I wouldn't say I wanted to disappoint them, but I did want to make them proud. But also too, I wanted to show them that they were right. When I was growing up, I was bullied a lot in school. They always had my back. And so for me to really having my business going and really making an impact, it really reflects back on them. Because if it wasn't for them helping me to be who I am today, I wouldn't be keep going, to be honest. And so it really comes down to your why. Why are you creating this business? Why you want to make an impact? And so that's the reason why and how I keep going and keep thriving because I have all these people that's looking up towards me, especially down at me now. They're all in heaven. And so it's really that's the main reason why I keep going is because my two angels. Second thing is when I was growing up, I didn't have any role models. I didn't have anybody to look up to. It was very hard for me when I was growing up, especially being a woman and a woman of color who have a disability. It was very difficult. And so that's why I wanted to become what I do because I didn't want anybody to feel like they were left out or feel alone. And a lot of people may not know, but it's very rare to find someone who's disabled who's in the professional field. It's very rare. And that's why I do what I do. And that's definitely the reason why I keep going and moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. We are starting to move past some of the stigmas. People are now becoming more open to discussing it and being more inclusive. There's still always going to be the few that won't be. But I think that it's becoming more the norm where people are accepting and inviting people who have, whether it's a disability that you can see or not, which I think is another thing probably could be a challenge, especially you've been really great. I've been talking with you and I've found that we've been able to communicate well. Like, as I said, I've known you a couple of years now. And I feel like just being open like that with someone like yourself without looking at any labels that other people might have put has allowed me to get to know you a little bit more. But it has allowed, I think, too, for the world when they're like that and they just embrace people's superpowers, whether they're again, physically disabled or, where there is a disability that shows where they maybe can't walk, they have to use a wheelchair or a walker or whatever that is, braces perhaps, but actually having some hidden things like being deaf because it's not something immediately that someone would actually know unless, you told them. So I appreciate that. And that's why I feel like it's important. I think you're in a position to be a leader in your particular field, but also to show other women of color who might have a disability and those who are women of color who don't have a disability, what it looks like to lead regardless of your circumstances. So I love that. So let's talk about high achieving women because I know, well, especially if you're a high achiever, you're growth minded, you're growth focused. So you're looking for the next thing, you're looking for the next innovative idea. A lot of the time we can be our own worst enemy because we try to do everything all at once. Everything's important. I have a client right now, everything's important. And it's like, how do you manage your calendar, right? Because not everything is important. It is, absolutely. If it's important to you, it's important, but it doesn't necessarily mean everything's important right now. So whether it's in leadership, whether it's in business or personal growth, I want to bring it back to you because I really, as I said, I admire you so much. I've been watching from afar, but I really admire you. And I want to come back to that mindset of being that high achieving woman because you are. You've gone after your goals. You've gone after your dreams. You've not allowed anyone to say that it's not possible. So how has being an advocate for yourself shaped your journey? And what can women learn from your approach for self-advocacy?
I would say it all comes down to the timeline. I know women just go and they don't think about it, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I had a friend of mine and a client. They were just like, I want to be like you. I want to achieve so much goals, but they didn't have a timeline. They didn't craft themselves correctly. And that's something I did before I started everything because I took my time. That's number one. You have to take your time. If you don't take your time, you're not going to be able to move forward to what you want it to look like. Because a lot of time, if you rush into things, you're not going to get the results that you hope to get. And number two, time management. Time management is super important. I feel like a lot of women think that they have it all, but realistically, they don't. I noticed a lot of women would be like, "Oh my god, I forgot this, I forgot this, I forgot that." And I said, "Yeah, because your time management is not good. You have to be realistic with your time." For me, I am super realistic with my time. Like, I know that, for some of you probably don't know, I also have my 9 to 5 and I have my business, my 2 business. And people be like, "Wait, how do you manage all of this?" And I said, "Well, time management. I know what I can take and what I cannot take." That's the problem with a lot of women. They don't know that there's a difference between the two. Do not take too much just because it's important. You need to learn how to put that away and then this is not important. And it's super hard to say that because we're women and we're always taking care of so many things. The household, the bill, this, that. Why? Because we grew up seeing our mother work, but also our mother taking care of the household where the father go to work and come home,
Mm.
rest, and sleep. And where we see a mom doing laundry, a mom doing this and that. So you really need to prioritize your time, 100%. Because if you don't do it, you're gonna struggle a lot. Like for example, in the beginning of every single business, it's gonna be hard because we're wearing so many hats, and we're like, I'm the marketing, I am doing this, I'm doing that. But you have to tell yourself, okay, what should I focus on today, and what can be pushed to tomorrow? A lot of women don't feel comfortable doing that. They're like, I'd rather do this tonight. Why? What's the rush? And it comes down to what I said before. Do not rush. It took me 3 years or 3 years moving to 5 years now with my company. Why? Could I took my time. I didn't rush it. Now I know what I really need to work on, what's really important, what's not important. Now I know. And so we just need to really think about and take a step back and really say, is this important? Time management. We have to figure this out. And you do not need to make sure you have everything figured out, especially if you're a mom. If you're a mom, make sure your children come first before anything. I get it. Things happen, but listen, your responsibility is at home more than anything else because your home is never going to go without you there. And it all
Mhm.
comes down to time management as well. How are things going to be working at home when you're in business? How that's going to work? You have to figure that out, right? And like I tell every mom, especially moms who are business owners, some of them will always tell me, like, because I'm so tired, I have to go home to my kids. Time management. Train your kids. Let them know. As soon as mommy comes home, give mommy 10 minutes before she can come out because our brain is focusing on the outside. If you don't program your brain and train your family how you should, especially when you come home, it's very important that we do that. And I feel like the only way to advocate for ourselves is really understand how much we can take and how much we cannot take. If you know you cannot take more than 5 tasks a day, why are you gonna push yourself? You wanna be in the hospital? I always ask clients all the time, "Do you wanna be in the hospital?" Because I was in the hospital last year when I had a breakout, right? So it's honestly, truly, it's a matter of what you want and what's best for you, not anybody else. Don't listen to anybody's opinion, and this is not a race, woman. Not a race, women. Ladies, it's not a race in this business field. Even though if you have friends and families that are doing super successful, okay, that's fine. Cheer them on. But you are next too. You are next.
Mhm.
Why
Yeah.
should you stop because everybody else is successful but you? Maybe your time is not here yet. And I tell people, God has a plan for you every time. Whether you like it or not, you need to be patient. And it all comes down to time management and time plan. Make sure you plan your schedule. Make sure you plan your year. A lot of clients and a lot of women don't plan a year ahead. And I noticed that a lot. And I said, what's your plan for the next 5 years? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I want to become successful. Okay, let's break it down. What is it you want to be successful in? Right? So you really need to learn how to know your stuff in order to advocate for yourself. So that way you can let people know how they can help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I also go a step further because one of the things I believe is that time and energy go hand in hand. Because if you're not looking after your energy, meaning how you take care of you, like you were saying, you could have 5 meetings in a day, but if your energy can't support that, you're just going to be ending up exhausted. So then you're going home to your children, which is your second job, by the way. It's not like, oh, it's family, so it's not considered. It's hard to be a parent, and I'm not a parent, but I know that it is hard to be a parent as well as run a business, or even if you're in a corporate environment, whatever
Yeah.
that looks like for you. So I really believe that knowing your energy as well is so important. What I'm trying to say is that women have, if you're a mom, you have 2 jobs. You have your business or your corporate environment job, and you also have your home. And that's important to also note. So I truly believe that advocating for yourself is really important, that you take the time to make yourself a priority. And a lot of it also comes down to managing your energy so that you can have that quality of life. So, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your answer. So, next, I want to really talk to you about mindset because this is something I know that you know a lot about. I know that women feel held back a lot of the time by their beliefs. I've heard people try to say, oh, no, there's no such thing as limiting beliefs. I've actually been listening to somebody who's trying to say that there's no such thing as going back and doing the self-development work and looking at your beliefs that this person feels that this is kind of like a myth. But I truly believe that we grow up believing certain things based on our experiences. It's just the way of life. So it could even be imposter syndrome when you get older because of experiences when you were younger, fear of failure, societal expectations, people expecting things from you, even your family expecting things from you. And then when you factor in having a disability, whether it is hearing, whether it is a physical disability where other people may try to limit you, how have you navigated these barriers and what strategies have helped you break through them so that we can maybe inspire our listeners out there who might actually be experiencing this?
I will say honestly, that's the truth. We have to value our belief when we get older. And so it's hard to say. And like how you said, it was hard. It's so hard. It is. But for me, when I got older, as a disabled person, my family didn't really have a very high expectation of me because I was young and they knew that I was trying to find myself. But it's the same thing as you're getting older, especially when you move out of your parents' house, your belief and value change. You realize certain things are different. And I noticed that you're relearning about who you are as a person, especially when you move out. And I noticed that with a lot of people I meet who moved out of their families, they're like, oh my God, I'm finally free. But you can be stuck at the same time because you have to reshape who you are. And I tell people, really look at who do you want your life, what do you want your life to look like the next 5 years? That's how I would shape my belief. And that's how I would look at it. For me, I know the next 5 years is I want to be married. I want to have children. I want to be able to travel and I want to be able to homeschool my kids. But I have to look back and realize what belief and value can help me to get to my 5 years goal. And that's something a lot of people don't think about is that as an adult, we're always learning. We're always changing our personality. We're always changing our circle, our environment, our energy change. We're learning about different people. And you have to really understand that belief is weird. And I'll tell people that. It's weird because you don't know what life's going to take you the next 5, 3, 10 years from now. And for me, honestly, as a woman, is that there's so many peer pressure about us women. For example, it's okay. I don't mind exposing you guys how old I am. I'm 27. And, my friends have children. I don't. And that's okay by me. But I'm not ready. And I know I'm not ready. And that's not where I see myself being it, and that's not my belief. And I tell people, I know girls nowadays just want to have kids young and they want to marry a much older guy and whatnot. Like, that's not me because my belief is different. And I feel like it's very hard, especially when you're trying to reshape your life. The belief can be very difficult, especially when you're moving. Like, for example, you moved out at a young age, you have a boyfriend, you start having children. All that belief change all the time. But some people don't realize that because they're too in their mind or they're too on the go, on the go, on the go, and don't take a step back and think about it and say, you know what? This is not what I want in my life, and this is not who I am. And people don't realize that. And I tell people honestly and truly is that you have to respect yourself. If you can't respect yourself, especially your belief, no one's going to respect you. And that's something a lot of times when we are learning who we are as a person is so difficult because we have all the negativity in our circle, in our corner, the opinion. Oh, you should do that. Like, it's become exhausting. And this is why sometimes women, we don't bother creating our own belief because of that reason. And it happened to me before. I remember I had a friend of mine again, she has her own life together. I do have my life together. Don't get me wrong, but her and I have different beliefs. She would expecting that. And I learned that why is this norm is telling women what to do, where we could create our own life how we want to. And for me, I don't have children yet. I'm 27. I'm okay with that. And some women are not okay with it because women think, oh, I want to be just like everybody else. You cannot be like everybody else. And so, yeah, so that's my opinion on belief. I always tell women, life is too short to be even thinking about other people's opinion because you have one life to live. I'm pretty sure if God comes in a dream and he said, you have this amount of time to live, you would not listen to anybody's opinion. Would you? No.
Yeah.
So that is my belief.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how you're saying, like, this is what I want for myself. And I think that's what it is. It's like owning what you want for your life because it is your life. We're all different. We're all individuals for a reason. We're not supposed to, even though, when you get married and then you want to have children and then you become a blended family, right? You become that family unit. But when you're not ready for it, that's okay. I was like you. I was 20 when I first got my first time being engaged. And I broke up with him. I was just over 25, almost 25, I should say. And I remember saying, yeah, I'll get engaged to you, but I'm not getting married before I'm 25. Like I already knew because I wanted to experience life. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to have
No.
kids right away. And then I knew I wanted to have children. At least I thought I did. I wanted to have way back in the day, I thought, oh, I want to have 6 kids. I don't know where that came from. It just was a number. But I end up now, I'm married 29 years and I don't have any children. Now that's
Yeah.
okay. Now our lifestyle, the way we've moved around for the last 29 years of being married. My husband and I have moved around different places. We lived all over Canada, the US, and now we're here in Mexico. And we've been to Mexico 3 times. This is our 3rd time to Mexico and for an extended period of time. To me, I felt like once we realized early on in our marriage that, we left the conversation open and we decided, you know what? I don't feel like children are going to enhance our life, and that's okay. We have kids on both sides of our families, from our siblings. But I also knew that if this is the lifestyle we we chose to be able to move to different places, I didn't want to put my children through uprooting them all the time, taking them away from their friends, having to start over all the time, because that can mess with a person. And it did, because I know up until from a very young age, for many, many years, we moved pretty much yearly. And I remember just being heartbroken because I had to make friends over and over again. So it really is important to recognize that having that mindset that it is about like self-advocating for yourself and having a belief that this is what I want for my life, not what anyone else wants for my life. I'm going to follow my dream. I'm going to surround myself with people who can help me, but I'm going to go after what I feel is the best move for me. And it might not be in your timeline, and that's okay. Because a lot of people look to the external, and I'm sure your clients that you've worked with probably are saying to you, but all of these people, or this person is telling me, or this person I know, look at how successful they are. And we started at the same time, coming back to that timing piece. So I really, really love what you're doing and, the work that you're doing, especially, in the deaf community, being that advocate, and you're all about creating inclusivity and accessibility. So my last question really for you is this. What are some common misconceptions people have about the deaf experience, and how can businesses, like other business owners and leaders, create more inclusive environments?
I would say the biggest exception that about the deaf community that a lot of people think is that we are not able to communicate. So every time I meet someone while I'm speaking, a lot of people will be shocked that I am, deaf, gosh, hard of hearing. And they'll be like, wait, what? Like you wear hearing aid? Like I thought deaf people can't speak. So a lot of people think that. And so that's one of the biggest misconceptions I get a lot is that people can't speak or they cannot become successful or they are, underneath the rug. And so that's the biggest deception that a lot of the deaf people get. And also as well, I noticed this a lot is that they don't have employment. A lot of people think, deaf people don't have a job because they're deaf and etc. So it's really sad that a lot of people don't want to take the deaf community consideration, learn how to accommodate, especially communication style. Everybody communication style is super different. For me, like I learned sign language when I was younger, but unfortunately when I was growing up, I didn't learn sign language at all. I lost it. And so now I'm relearning my sign language all over again. And so that's one of the misconceptions that we get for the deaf community. And for business owners who are looking to be more acceptable, I always tell them, number one, please make sure that there's closed caption on your platform, especially if you are doing a technology platform. There's so many ways to make acceptable on technology, especially now that there's a lot of improving with closed caption now. So there's a lot of improving with that. I'm not saying every platform have it, but there's a very few platforms I've been on that does need improvement. And number two, for business owners, please, if you can, find an interpreter for the client, right? Whoever you're speaking with. I noticed that a lot of clients felt doubt that they cannot communicate with the hand person because they can't find an interpreter. It's not about, oh, how much an interpreter? Oh my God, they're so expensive. And I hear that a lot of time with someone who actually assume that I need an interpreter. And I was like, no, I do not. I can talk. And so he's like, oh, thank God, because they're so expensive. I'm like, excuse me, you should have not said that to me. And number one, yes, the interpreters are expensive, but If you want a successful business, your business needs to be accessible to everybody as a whole, whether they have a disability or not. And so it's very frustrating to hear people say, oh, they're so expensive. Okay, your life's expensive too. How more expensive an entrepreneur is. Like, it's not that hard. And number three, I always tell business owners, please educate yourself. Go to educational webinar about the disability community. There's so many educational webinars that any business owner can go to. And I'm always telling business owners, please let me know if you would like me to send you some educational webinar where you can learn, right? It doesn't have to cost anything. There's a lot of free webinars, or even to participate in activities in the disability community. For example, volunteer. You can always volunteer and really learn about the disability community. And there's so many volunteer opportunities in the disability community, especially there's a lot of nonprofit organizations nowadays, right? Everybody networking, everybody trying to connect with them. Definitely connect with the nonprofits and the disability community, because you never know, right? You can never know. Who knows? Maybe your son or child will be the next disabled person that you come across, and you're like, oh my God, my child's disabled. No, I understand, right? But you don't want it to shock you if something were to happen, especially if something were to happen in your own personal life. So you would never know.
Yeah. Oh, God, I have to say, Kellina, it has been amazing spending time with you today because as I said, I've known you a little while now, but I just love how confident and, you're owning your space. And I love that with what the work that you do, it's really important for you to create that inclusion, that accessibility for the disabled community to make sure that others can see it. It's like this can be one of your greatest, I think, assets by allowing yourself to go learn. First of all, like you were saying, learn about the community, volunteer to learn about the community, take, whether or not you need someone to come in and interpret for you, especially if you are going to offer your services and someone from that community is saying, I really resonate with you. But if you're not willing to do that for them, then, there's that missed opportunity. So I really, really love that. I've loved hearing your perspective on self-advocacy, because I think that's important about how you take care of you, because you're important, and how we can all really play a role in creating a more inclusive world. So I know the women listening today are going to walk away feeling really empowered to step into their lives with more confidence, self-trust, knowing they have the power to shape their own path no matter what. So I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you very, very much.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me, lady.
And to our listeners, if you would like to connect with Kellina directly and learn more about her work, you can find her contact information in the show notes. Remember, no matter who you are, what you do, or the challenges you're navigating, including if you're living with a disability, you have the power to create and live your very best life. Your circumstances don't define you. They don't define your potential. What truly matters is how you choose to show up for yourself every day. So take that next step and embrace your strengths, own your story, and trust that you're capable of achieving more than you ever imagined. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Why is it that games make us feel so good or completely rage quit? These emotions we feel are mostly not an accident. People like me designed them. I'm Chris Cross, and this is Brain Arcade, a podcast all about the psychology of game design and why games hit us so hard. Each week, I bring on a new guest, designers, psychologists, storytellers, to break it all down with me. If you play, design, or just love games, follow now.
Electricast.